For over a decade, the Glock has been the top choice for both criminals and law enforcement in the world. But times have changed. This new Glock rifle has taken the market by surprise, and it changes the game once and for all. The controversy around weapons and their value in various circumstances has resulted in ongoing improvements in firearm technology, whereas the primary discussions concentrate on the decision between handguns and rifles for law enforcement and private security. As currently defined in 27 CFR 478.11 and 479.11, the term rifle includes language referring to a weapon's intent to be fired from the shoulder. The new proposed ruling would amend and extend these definitions by adding a sentence to expand a rifle as any weapon with a rifled barrel and equipped stabilizing brace with certain design features and characteristics that indicate the firearm is designed to be fired from the shoulder. These criteria are laid out in the new proposed ATF worksheet 4999, similar to ATF Form 4590, used in the importation of pistols and revolvers. How will this new rifle change the whole gun industry? Is it for real the game changer Glock was aspiring for? Hear this out. Factoring criteria for rifled barrel weapons with accessories, commonly known as stabilizing braces. The document's title reads, "The characteristics and attributes listed on ATF Worksheet 4999 are those that the ATF considers when inspecting weapon samples that have a stabilizing brace or another comparable component or accessory attached. Prerequisites, accessory features, and weapon configuration are the three sections that make up the factoring criteria. Sections 2 and 3 use a point system to weigh the different features. Based on the indicator's degree, point values vary from 0 to 4. Marcus Watson, a special agent with the BATFE, conducted the presentation at the Shelby County Sheriff's Office Training Academy in Memphis. According to U.S. Attorney Kevin Ritz, these switches are both unlawful and extremely hazardous. He claims that bringing charges against anyone in possession of or selling Glock switches is a major priority for the U.S. Attorney's Office. On top of that, Ritz asserts that they are becoming more and more common in shooting locations. Shreveport police officials say they're seeing the device being used in shootings around the city more and more frequently. The ATF says the Glock Switch is an illegal device that's classified as a machine gun under federal law. However, the demonstration was held on Tuesday, July 26th at the Shreveport Regional Training Academy on Greenwood Road. Now, people are surfing the dark web using 3D printers or sometimes simply searching sites like Etsy to buy a small quarter-size plate called a Glock Switch, which can convert a Glock into a fully functioning but illegal machine gun. The Glock Switch makes it possible for the weapon to fire off 15 rounds in less than a second. With an extended clip in that same Glock, someone could potentially fire 30 rounds in under 3 seconds. Officials say what makes the Glock Switch so dangerous is the gun's modified firing speed and its inaccuracy. Even trained ATF agents struggle to mitigate the coil of the Glock when fired with a switch. Glock switches have surged in popularity among Columbus criminals, and police report they're finding them more and more. But why are Glock switches considered dangerous? A gun that fires that quickly can be difficult to control, said John Gripshover, an assistant Franklin County prosecutor who directs the office's gun unit. That means a shooter with a weapon is more likely to hit innocent bystanders. A push to ban machine guns in the U.S. began after the 1929 St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Chicago, in which gang violence led to 7 murders using the since-banned weapons, according to news reports. Back in 1934, Congress passed the National Firearms Act, which made machine guns illegal, according to the ATF. The act was updated in 1986 to include Glock switches in the definition of a machine gun. On the contrary, Glock switches, as they're commonly referred to, got their name because it's easiest to apply one to a Glock handgun, but the devices go by many names according to law enforcement. Sometimes they're called auto-sear or a swift link as well. Pretty interesting, right? Now, if you're a gun freak, then you must be wondering what's the penalty for having a Glock switch. Well, if we get straight to the point, then putting a Glock switch on a gun is illegal. But possessing a Glock switch is also illegal in and of itself. Someone caught with a Glock switch can face up to 10 years in prison if prosecuted at the federal level. The penalty can vary widely, though, as various cases show. In Cincinnati, Johnny Dews was charged for having a switch attached to a gun. He was convicted and sentenced in October to 3 years in prison. Multiple cases where people have been charged with possession of a machine gun are still pending in court locally. Meanwhile, The revolutionary trigger mechanism of Glock handguns, often known as the Safe Action System, is one of its most distinctive features. The improvement of user safety and firearm performance has been made possible in large part by this technology. Its three integrated safeties make it a special and familiar feature of Glock handguns. Together, these safeguards reduce the possibility of unintentional discharges while still enabling quick and reliable firing under pressure. For your information, the trigger safety, a little lever located in the middle of the trigger, must be fully depressed before the trigger may engage. This function guards against accidental trigger manipulation and is crucial to maintaining the firearm's safety when not in use. After that comes the firing pin that is directly linked to the trigger bar. It acts as a blocking mechanism, preventing the pin from moving forward unless the trigger is pulled. This prevents the pistol from firing in the event of a fall or impact, enhancing overall safety. In 1991, the first Glock shooting spree took place in Texas. 20 people were killed. Hours after the shooting, members of Congress were debating whether guns like the Glock should be restricted. It took a while, but by 1994, a bill was passed. This is what we remember as the Assault Weapons Bill, and was signed into law by President Clinton, says Barrett. It had a variety of restrictions. One of them was limiting the pistol magazine capacity to 10 rounds. The legislation, which expired in 2004, was initially seen as a terrible blow to the Glock, but the company quickly found a way to use the ban on high-capacity magazines to their advantage, he says. Glock had seen this bill coming for years and had been running the factory non-stop, 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week, building up the large-capacity firearms and the large-capacity magazines, he says. When the law was enacted, it allowed for a loophole that grandfathered in pre-existing equipment before the ban went into effect, and it had this huge stockpile of the very equipment that many gun owners wanted to get because it was banned, and the value of that equipment skyrocketed. On the other hand, Glock also encouraged police departments to trade in their old equipment for newer, higher-capacity weapons. The old equipment, which contained the higher-capacity magazines manufactured before the ban, was then sold on the used gun market and found its way to the streets. Police departments were implicated in the proliferation of handguns all across the country, Barrett says, a fact that came to haunt the municipalities that, a decade later, tried suing the gun industry for flooding the streets with guns. Xavier Deshaun Watson was charged via criminal complaint with possession and transfer of machine guns. He was arrested without incident in the parking lot of his apartment complex on Thursday night and made his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Jeffrey Cureton in Fort Worth on Friday. 3 additional conversion device sellers, Ayub Whale, 23, Jose Corral Santillan, 19, and Mentation Jones, 20, were charged earlier this year. The employment of machine gun conversion devices in violent gun crime poses a major risk to public safety. According to James Van Vliet, acting special agent in charge of the ATF's Dallas Field Division, this investigation is an obvious illustration of the agency's unrelenting drive, along with that of our allies, to disrupt not just those who own and use these weapons, but also their suppliers. In early 2022, Fort Worth police officers reportedly saw an increase in shootings employing conversion devices, which let shooters fire numerous rounds of ammo in rapid succession with a single depressed trigger, according to court filings. Through innovative investigation techniques, ATF was able to positively identify the suspect and secure search warrants for postal records, electronic financial records, and internet service providers. The investigation concluded that the suspect had been in business since 1999 and had sent or received over 6,500 email messages within a 30-day period. The U.S. Customs Service assisted in this investigation. On top of that, ATF analysts estimated that the suspect sent hundreds of illegal weapons into the United States. In 2003, a nationwide roundup resulted in dozens of arrests and the seizure of 24 machine guns, 16 silencers, 6 pipe bombs, 7 converted Glock handguns, 9 Glock converter switches, 3 short-barreled rifles, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. The suspect was charged with various violations of federal law, and the Office of the United States Attorney prepared a request for extradition. The Argentinian government declined this request because, using ATF's investigative report, Argentinian authorities arrested and jailed the suspect for violations of that country's own firearm laws. In the end, we'd say, If you're a gun enthusiast and want to lay down multiple targets in no time, then elevate your marksmanship and dominate every shot with Glock firearms. Remember to subscribe to the channel for more blues from the world of firearms. If you want to know more about firearm specifications, then click on the video links popping on your screens and we'll catch you there in a minute. Until then, take care.